I believe all of you have installed SQL Server and SSMS. SQL Server is your server. This is your client server architecture. Okay. And even Power BI is a client for SQL Server. Okay. Don't think SSMS is the client for the SQL Server. Using Power BI also, we can connect to the server. Okay. And okay. But why SSMS? SSMS is a developer friendly. Okay, but it's a super, right? It is a super awesome tool. You don't have to write, you don't have to remember or memorize the syntax for the SQL queries. You don't even have to write the SQL queries for certain things. Okay, just point and click it. It will generate the SQL queries. That is, that much powerful. This SSMS is all about. It is very easy to use and it is very developer friendly. Even a layman can also learn with the help of SSMS. But whatever the queries that you write it in the SSMS, right, that one will get submitted into your SQL server, right? It's kind of an interface, right? And it will be sent to this one. And the next one is the data types. Next, we'll jump into understand what the data types that are available. And what they did, whatever the data types that are available in SQL server, matching to that, they kept the data types and some built-in functions, the date diff or date add functions, right? And built-in functions, also somewhat similar to SQL, so they kept it in Power BI. That's why hence remembering those certain functions are pretty simple. The built-in functions, I'm talking about it. So what is SQL Server? First of all, SQL Server is a relational database management system. What do you mean by relational database management? Already we discussed about relationship as part of data modeling in Power BI, right? So, creating the relationship between the tables. Okay. When it comes to database management system, you'll be creating the relationship between the tables. When you create the relationship between the tables, it will improve your query performance. It will reduce storage space. Okay. So because of which we create the relation between the tables. When it comes to installation, there are 4 editions are available. Express. This is what I recommended you all to download and install it. And other one is developer. Better you go with Express. Okay, it's a free one. Developer is free for testing and development, and we have a standard license is available that is for production environment. But the enterprise also, it's all licensed one. Okay, the enterprise, most of the large enterprises, they go for enterprise edition. Okay, this one costs a lot, and standard edition costs lesser than this one. Okay, and whereas these two are free for to learn SQL Server, you don't have to buy any software. It is a free thing. Okay, and that way it is really good. Now I told you SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server is a relational database management system. First of all, what is a database management system? Okay, database management system, is a program. It enables the users to access the database and manipulate the data. They can insert the data, they can delete the data, they can modify the data, and then they can report the data using SQL queries. There are 2 types of database management system is there. One is relational, other one is non-relational. Nowadays, the non-relational databases are gaining a lot of popularity. Okay, in the case of Hadoop, their non-relational database are gaining a lot of popularity. And so in general, right, in the case of non-relational, 4 popular non-relational databases are there. One is the document data store. Another one is column-oriented database, and key value store, graph database. Guys, don't worry. Okay, you just put it in your brain. That is enough. Okay, the document data store or like XML, YAML, YAML, BSON, and so on. These are called your document. At this one, let's not worry about this one. Let's focus on the relational database. Okay, and just for knowledge sake, I just explained it this one. And what exactly RDBMS? RDBMS stands for Relational Database Management System. As I told you, right? So the why we call this a relational database, because the data is stored in tables that are linked together via the relationship. So what is the common column between these 2 tables? Depart number. we have, if for example, your manager is asking you to create a report. In that report, display the employee name and then their corresponding department name. Okay, the employee name is available here. The employee name is available here, whereas the department name is available here. All you need is only 2 columns, but these 2 columns are in 2 different tables. If I want to, get these 2 columns to be printed in my report, I need to join these 2 tables. Fine. How do I join it? Based on the common column between these 2 tables. What is the common column? Your department number is the department number is there. Can we see any other column that are common? No, right? So we need to create a relationship between them. You remember in the data modeling, I just drag and drop it, right? This department number and this one, I just drag and drop it. It will automatically create a link. That is what I'm talking about it. Okay. So if you want to select more than, columns for more than one table, you need to join these 2 tables. In order to join these 2 tables, you need to have the relationship. Without relationship, you cannot select the data. Now let us explore what is SQL. When it comes to Microsoft SQL Server, we call it as a TSQL, Transact SQL. This is very specific to Microsoft. Everyone say, I know SQL, I know MySQL, I know Oracle. All the SQLs are same, right? But it is little bit different, TSQL. Okay, first of all, what is SQL? SQL stands for the structured query language. It is a type of programming language called query. Okay, only once you store the data, using SQL, you can describe the data, you can manipulate the data or retrieving the data. Okay, and the Microsoft SQL Server, right, we use something called Transact SQL. It is an extension of the SQL languages. So this is the Transact SQL is predominantly used in Microsoft SQL Server database. Okay, so in this case, okay, you might be asking this, right? So then what is the difference between SQL and TSQL? When it comes to TSQL, as the name suggests, Transact SQL, you can submit the queries batch by batch. Okay, that is what you can do it with TSQL. Don't worry, I will show it in the SQL Server Management Studio. All of you have installed it, right? I just go here and SSMS, I just type it. Look here, I just typed SSMS. Since I already installed it, I can see that here. SQL Server Management Studio 18, right? I just click on it once gently. You just click on it once and wait for some time. You need to have a lot of patience. Don't click on it more than one time, it will hang. I just launched the SQL Server Management Studio to connect to our database engine. First, you need to install SQL Server, and then only you need to install SQL Server Management Studio. It's something like you have a Swiggy app and you are ordering food. First of all, the hotel should be there, right? Hotel is something like your server and your client is something like your Swiggy app. Without hotel, how you can order it? You have a nice app, but hotels are not available. All the hotels are closed. Then what is the use of that app, right? The app is something like your SQL Server Management Studio. The server is like your hotel. All the data will reside in your SQL Server. It's also called a backend. Okay, in the backend is SQL Server. The interview they'll ask you. So what are the backends that you use? SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, which tool that you used it to write the SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio? Why you used SQL? Because it's developer friendly. We don't have to memorize the syntax for everything. Okay, in the meanwhile, why to waste time, right? So let it launch it and let us see. Yeah, this is what I was talking about, right? The SQL, you are writing the SQL query to interact with your SQL server. In the SQL server, you create a database. All the data are stored here. In order to retrieve the data, you use a plain English-like language called SQL, using which you can interact with the SQL server, and then you can retrieve the data, whatever you stored it in the database in the required form. For example, you want to see all the products that are stored in this database product table. You can use this query. Very easy, right? All star means all the columns from the product table. But if you want to select only two columns, you wanted to know the product name and the cost price. Select product name, comma, cost price from the from products. What are the columns that you needed? Specific columns. What are the number of records? Specific records, specific column. You can use your query to select only those records. Once you store it, you reuse it as many times as you can using SQL queries. So in order to query the data, you need to have the table. Okay, it is something like this. You need to have the table. So you need to have the database. So this is what you are, see, you need to remember this concept very well. Okay, this is SQL Services software. We installed it, right? This is our SQL server. In the SQL server, you can create more than one database. Database 1, database 2, database. You can create n number of databases. Okay, and each database you can create n number of tables. N number of tables. Same thing is n number of tables. That's all, guys. In a single SQL server, you can create more than one database. Each database can have multiple tables in it. And also you can have index and other objects. Tables and index, these are called your objects. Okay, first we need to create the tables. First you need to create a database, step 1. And step 2 is create the tables. And then step 3 is write a query to fetch the data that got stored in your table. Okay. So how to install, this is what we discussed already. Okay. And what are the data types that are available? Hell lot of data types are available. Very difficult to remember in SQL Server. But what are the commonly used data types, like a number data type, string data type, date and time, and binary data? That and other data types are also available here. In the case of numeric data type, there are two types. You know very well, right? The whole number we use integer data type. For the decimal, we use the decimal data type. But in the case of SQL Server, within that integer data type itself, 4 different data types are big int, small int, tiny int, bit. This basically they wanted to help the users to store the data in a very optimal manner. If you are using small integer value, then you can go use this data type. Okay, don't use big int. If you want to store big digits, right? Or let's say 10 digit or 20 digit, that kind of situation you can go for big int. Whereas if you are using a small, if you store let's say the number of digits which you store it has very less thing, right? In that case, you can go for small int. Okay, and again decimal, we have decimal data, money data type, small money, and numeric. So don't confuse with this one. You remember, these data types are high level. Yeah, there is a different Samya. I'm going to show you here. Look here, and the number, int data type, bit data type, and the category. In the number, there are 3 types: decimal and bit. For example, in a table, you have a column called 6. Okay, and the male or female. Okay, we use 1 means male and 0 means female. This is the notation we use it commonly. In the case of data science also, right? We use this notation. Okay, there's a column in the case of sex to store either 0 or 1. Why you need a big int, right? In that case, if you use a big int, what will happen is unnecessarily it will occupy that much of space. For example, in the case of integer data type, it takes the values anywhere between this and this. Okay, and then behind the scene, I think 8-bit it occupies. Okay, so what happens is unnecessarily it will occupy 8-bit. We use integer data types to store a 6 column. Okay, the 6 value, or better you can go for bit, right? 0 and 1 to store that. Why you need integer data? If it will consume too much of space. Okay, it's something like you hired a big hall wherein the number of hosts are only hardly. Let's say you are launching a party hardly few people are coming, but you booked 100 rooms. 100 rooms are waste, right? Something like that. And then the decimal data type. So, this is the range you can store it, the decimal data. Date time, 1753 to 9, up to this one. Anything after this, you cannot store it. Anything before this, you cannot store it, okay? And character data, string is character data type here, and char and varchar. So here the maximum length is 8,000 characters, and the maximum length for varchar here also 8,000. The difference between these two are, in the case of character, it's a fixed length, okay, fixed length. Whereas variable length is, as the name says, it varies. Supposing you are creating the column, let's say you have a column name by the name of first name. You cannot say the first name should be only, the width of the first name should be only 10 or 15, right? If you see some people name, it's very big, right? So in that kind of situation, when you use the char data type, let's see if you specify the width as char of 15, if anything beyond 15, it'll get truncated, it will not get stored. Whereas in the case of varchar, what happens is, see the one, there are advantages and disadvantages with char. Char of 15. For example, if you specify the width as 15 here, first name, let's say in the table, you have a column by the name of first name. For that, you have defined the data type as a char and the width as 15. If a person name is more than 15, the first name itself, what will happen? Up to 15 letters will get stored, rest of them will get truncated. That is fine. But let's say I have a person by the name of Babu, right? Only 4 letters. In that case, what will happen is just 4 letters are there, but what will have remaining space allocated, right? That one remain as it is. It will be unused, but it will consume storage space, okay? Or in the memory, it will consume space in your memory unnecessarily. Anything additional, if you store it, it will get truncated. Anything less than this, if you store it, it is the space. For example, if I store only 4 digits, sorry, 4 letters, the remaining space, remaining 11 digits, right? That one should deallocate it. That is not possible. It will fixed. This is the one is fixed. Whether you store small or bigger, it will be 15 only. Okay. This sounds not that good, right? Whereas varchar, it's a dynamic thing. If you store lesser or bigger, it automatically extends. But again, varchar also we specify the 15. But the one advantage of varchar is, if you don't specify, in the case of Babu, right? What will happen? Only whatever the space that are required to store the paper, only that much will be occupied. The rest of them will be cleaned up. It will not be occupied. Okay. And it's not a fixed one. Okay. The binary is right. In the case of, if you want to store any image or some binary data type will be used. But most of the time we deal with the number, date, string. That's all. In the number itself, we have different. And then we have the built-in functions that are available. These are the built-in for ceiling, floor, count, right? These are the functions are available here. With this, you can round the values. In Power BI, also the rounding functions are available. You can round up, you can round down the value using a round function. The school time is studied what is a round and all, right? And we have something called ceiling and floor. And what I do is I just, instead of talking everything, right, I will just go to the, it's already 9 o'clock, sorry, 11 o'clock. If I start, it will not be good. So, okay, because if I go there, it will take more time. What I will do is, anyhow, we started SQL Server. And this upcoming Tuesday, we'll try to cover as much as possible. And then we will next week, if you all support me by attending 3 sessions, we will wrap it up everything. And then we will have daily at least 1 hour interview sessions, okay, question answers. Okay, you tell me whenever you are comfortable, or at least weekly 4 days you will have it. Okay, that one don't miss out. If you are a smart person, I could say there are some people that are very intelligent, but due to some reasons they are not able to focus it. Okay, and if you focus it, that is enough. You can crack the interview. So believe me or not, there are students and they are very smart. whatever we teach, they hear it and they clear it. One batch from Tiger Antics, they attended. They know they did it like they are very smart guys. Lot of IQs. Okay, guys, thanks for your time. And any questions so far? This video, all the things will be shared. Don't worry. Nothing. I'm going to keep it with me, hide it with me. The only thing is, in our website, we are trying to put it everything. Our people are, enhancing our website. So we will put it everything there and then we'll share it. Don't worry. Okay. And okay, when it is available, the assignment and all these things, whatever I covered so far, it will be made available by this Saturday noon. Okay. This Saturday, effectively, you start down and practice it. And one dashboard, as I told you, we'll sit together. We will do it side by side. Whatever I do it, you can do it along with me. That way you can learn it fast. Ideally, I should have done it earlier since non-IT people, some students, they were searching for the keys in the keyboard. That's the reason why, right? So make sure that you are pretty comfortable with laptop, okay, the keyboard, everything, okay? Fine. Since you don't have any questions, I'm going to wrap up the session and also watch I will share the interview questions related thing, okay? Videos, you can watch it and then see, there are certain interview questions. It's all, even for me, it's a very interesting one for me. It's a bit tricky one. Okay, watch that. See, the question is like, what is active and inactive relationship? If I create more inactive relationship, what is going to happen? It's very thought-provoking. It is not a, college exam. The questions will not be very static. It's not a bookish kind of thing. It's very dynamic because people are working in real-time scenarios. That real-time scenarios, I put it in one video. Please watch it and try to get the answer from the internet, or else I will also give you that. Okay. Fine, guys. Thanks for all your time and have a nice weekend. I'm going to wrap up the session. Bye-bye. Take care.